Hey everyone, I'm Noble Absinthe, and today I was hoping to do a Samurai Jack Season 5 Episode 4 review, but Rick and Morty had to go and fuck it up. But hey, that show is also amazing, so I can't really complain. Anyway, let's do Season 2, Episode 2, Jack Tales. Let's get started. Well, to explain this episode away is to explain 3 separate stories, all of which are tales of Jack's journey to make his way home. Well, at least 2/3 of it is. Each of these stories could, in theory, have their own encapsulated story, its own episode, but for reasons that I'll explain as I go along, it'll be clear why these episodes are better left short. So, in short, the stories are weak, but together, they make an episode. We start the episode off with Jack giving us an exposition on a magical worm that can grant any wish. His wish is simple: to return to the past. Jack summons the worm from the depths of the ocean, and it greets him with a rather coy smile. It has a rather particular voice too, one that doesn't really give a lot of weight to the menacing lore that we were established.
Jack! You know of me? Of course I do. I'm magic.
Anyway, before Jack can ask of his wish, the other head of the worm emerges, and we get ourselves a lot of stupid, silly jokes for children like knock-knock jokes, and a classic riddle. I'm sure you've heard of it, the one that always tells the truths and the other one always tells lies. Jack has to answer them correctly or he'll get digested for 500 years, which, now that we know he's an immortal, that does seem kinda scary. When Jack successfully answers the question, which is also how I was first introduced to the riddle, by the way, he gets eaten, showing that the worm was really just a transparent dick. Overall, a pretty pointless tale. We don't get to see how it turns out in the end, but let's just say Jack gets away by slicing the worm in half, and saving all the people it's eaten. Yeah, that's good enough, right? The next story might be an improvement. We start off in the forest, at night, with Jack sharpening his blade by the fire. Jack senses danger, and he's right. It turns out to be a mysterious family. They've been lost in the woods for a while, and they have their eyes focused on Jack's sword. And of course, it turns out they're evil. As if Monster Granny over here in Frankenstein didn't tip you off. This is kinda stupid, and listen to this scream right here, it's amazing. Okay, they're not evil per se, they just really love the taste of metal. Jack does his thing and kicks all their asses. The fight ultimately ends with Jack slashing at the woman and removing her faceplate. Yeah, she was a robot. The other metal eaters cannibalize each other and the episode ends. And it's a fucking beautiful scene too. Cartoon Network back in its prime, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get this kind of gore anymore. This episode was kind of an improvement, but it was also kind of pointless. He wasn't trying to make it back in time. Hence the reason I said earlier, 2/3 of this episode is him trying to make it back. It might be an improvement, might not be. I mean, just look at Jack's face over here. I think he kind of disagrees. He kind of looks at the camera or away for a bit, and that face, man, he's asking where's this story going. And our story is going here. We transition to a magical orb that contains a fairy. It's said to grant only one wish. She was captured by a gargoyle for his own selfish desires, and before he chooses to make his wish, he takes a fucking nap. For real? Of course, Jack wants this wish for himself, so he scales the gargoyle's castle, and he meets the fairy, and he gets his hand stuck in the orb. To get unstuck, Jack has to get the key from the sleeping gargoyle. This seems kind of dumb. I thought this was going to be better, but it's not. It's just dumb. Jack keeps smashing the key against the orb, showing how dumb he is, and even after the fairy tells him to stop, over and over again. It's like the writers made Jack really dumb for some reason, and I don't get that. It's just a plot device at its worst. I mean, he is holding a ball, so maybe it's the idiot ball. The red guy awakes and Jack overkills the shit out of him. And apparently the gargoyle had the magic words to free the fairy, and that's why she was proclaiming, stop using the key like that. It's just a dumb episode. So, the noble Jack does what he does in every cock-block episode. He chooses to make his wish for them both to be free, and the ball breaks. Makes me think he could put some more clauses in there, because he is kind of imprisoned by Aku in the future. He's not really free. I just hate wish granters. It's just the ball breaking, that's all it is. This episode was kind of like a burrito. Now just bear with me, okay? It was like a burrito that wasn't overstuffed with too much variety, but enough of the bland ones, like rice, chicken, just the basic foundations, no flavor to it. You only get about 2 or 3 flavors out of a burrito, and all the extra stuff just makes a sloppy mess of texture. This episode had 3 flavors to it. The first being silly, the other one being spooky, kind of, and the third one being the typical heroic one. All of which can mesh together and have been meshed together in superior episodes, but isolated on their own, and it's just very, very poor. It worked for what it had to do, but, for being a short story, but if these were separate episodes, I feel like they would just be too weak. We're used to Jack not making his way back home or dealing with strange situations, so having them be quick stories wrapped up in a variety pack is interesting, but I don't think it was really executed well. The stories we got in this episode were kind of bland. I think the most iconic one for me was the one with the 2 worms, because it was where I learned that riddle growing up. The other 2 are just forgettable. The cannibalism was kind of cool in the second story, I can't really believe I forgot that, and the gargoyle had a neat design. It's like the Guardian from Ultima. But there wasn't much substance to this episode. Overall, they all had inherent weaknesses to them, and wrapping them up in a bow doesn't make those weaknesses go away. It's definitely on the lower end side of the spectrum for Samurai Jack episodes. And comparing this to another one that has a bunch of little stories, Aku's Fairy Tales, which were fun exaggerations, these stories that we got in this episode were just straight up mini adventures that were played straight. It makes for a good contrast, but I feel like this episode is easily more forgettable than Aku's Fairy Tales. When I saw the title of this episode in my queue, I couldn't remember it, and when I watched it, I only really thought, oh, this is the episode with the worm. But what else? And then I saw the second story, I'm like, oh, there is more to this, but the other 2 stories are kind of whatever. They were all really whatever episodes. I won't say this episode is garbage, because I do like elements in it. And if there were more mini-stories of Jack doing stuff, I think it would be a really interesting sub-series. In fact, this episode kind of gave me an idea. The time span of Jack from Season 4 to Season 5 could be a short mini-series after Season 5 is done, like little adventures that are all random. The idea is there, but this episode just suffers from poor execution. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. As always, if you like what you saw, please feel free to subscribe and tick that chime next to it to stay updated. I've actually been brainstorming ideas for Samurai Jack related content. Maybe I should do a full background story of Samurai Jack, or do like a Did You Know Gaming featuring Samurai Jack, I'm not sure if I would do it in a documentary type sense, or do the typical Did you know Samurai Jack was made in blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. This might be a way for me to learn about one of my favorite cartoons growing up, but I'm not sure how needed that video would be. Channel Frederator already did a 100 and something facts about Samurai Jack already, so I don't know, I think I might just be retreading the same waters, but maybe I can make something new, maybe I can add something new to the conversation. All I really want to do is give you guys more interesting content, so yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.